What's up, everyone? How you doing today? Thought I would show you some updates to this bird of prey. These are some old ones you're looking at right here. Got a couple new variants already, or well, more work done to it. Anyway, I wanted to answer a couple questions along the way here too, based in comments. So to start with, this was the last version that I showed or modified actually in the last video, kind of changing the wing tips on it. And this was the front end that I had on it, and this was my third attempt at making a front end. I had this one over here, and then I also had this other alternative version over here. And then out of the three, I sort of still liked this one the best, although there are some people that like the first one as well. Then I tried another attempt over here on this one. And this one, the idea was trying to make it really smooth and oval. But at the end of the day, it kind of looked like a Boeing passenger jet or something. So it wasn't quite hitting the mark either. And then I started referencing some pictures again, and realized that I am kind of missing it on the on this nose. It doesn't really fit the nostalgia part of what this bird of prey is kind of supposed to look like. But I'm not really trying to do a nostalgia version. I'm trying to do something that's kind of a hybrid between some I don't know, some 3D models that were made later on, that are kind of more impressive looking in my opinion, but also try to get some of that nostalgia in. So yeah, this one here I was like, yeah. And I also ended up cutting the side launchers off from this one too. I had these in place on the previous versions, and it was like, it's not that I hated how it looked. I don't mind how it looks really, but it's a bad place to put the launchers. It's too close to the front of the ship. They would probably get taken out if there's a serious battle and your shields were down. That it could be problematic. So it's not a good position to put launchers on a ship. So let me get to the newest version over here. And this one I made some more changes. Redesigned the front of it again. So I think this is version 6 now. It's not done either on the redesign. But what I was trying to do is get a little bit of that more classic bird of prey look on the front. So I made this thinner down here, not quite as thick, and I rounded off the glass around the front. Now on the actual old school versions of the bird of prey, I don't even know what's going on up here. They've got, it's kind of like this roundish oval piece, and then it doesn't really have windows. It has this like red block row that goes around like this, and they weren't windows, and I don't know what they were, and it didn't make any sense to me. So I'm actually trying to put glass in there so you can actually see out of it. And I ended up with this, but yeah, it needs more work. I've got some problems in these areas, and I do want to try to build out something over here to put in a couple turrets, or at least a turret, maybe two turrets, and some kind of assembly that kind of mounts over here. So I'm working on that. Well, I will be working on that. That's kind of one of the things. I made another change to the wingtips. I took that last section that was, well, for reference again, it looked like that, and I broke that part into two pieces, and made them each a little bit smaller so I could kind of drop it down a little bit more. And I'm probably going to get rid of some of these little block lines I've got in there too. But what I wanted to have it do is, when you look at it from the top view, I wanted those wings to arch forward, like this, and these birds of prey have some pretty big wings on them. Yeah, I think it's looking a little bit better that way. Except some of my block work, it needs modifications. I was trying things, and some of the stuff I tried it works, and others don't. So, and then obviously on the wingtips, I wanted to get in some launchers, but I'm debating now whether or not I should have these launchers actually, like the one launcher below the other launcher, like by a block row, and kind of jot it down that direction. So I'll be playing and tweaking with that some more. Tweaking that, not with that, just tweaking that. uh, And also another thing I was looking at too is a very front on view of the ship on how that's looking, and it's starting to look a little closer, I think, to um, what I'm trying to achieve with it. Again, trying to be a mix between the nostalgia version and something a little newer. Um, so that's where I'm at. Now, something I wanted to address in comments. It was basically asked, why am I running just running all these Excel thrusters on this one again? Why not just run the large thrusters? Well, okay, there's a few reasons for it, and I'll try to break it down and explain it. To start with the selection of thrusters has to do largely on what kind of ship it is. This one is intended for actual like combat in game, against enemy CVs and other things like that. And the style of combat that it's doing is basically shield dependent, high speed maneuvering. So with those things being said, there um, it's important, very crucial that I have big time thrust power on this. Now it's going to cost you dearly in CPU to have the kind of performance that I would like out of the ship, running all these Excel thrusters, but it's really going to be necessary, or it will fail in its combat role that it was meant to be for. If it can't hit the speeds required, you're going to get hit with like all those homing missiles and rockets and all the stuff. Where you got a really agile ship, you can avoid a lot of it. I won't say all of it, but you can avoid a lot of things. And then, and this is going to be a shield dependent hit and run strategy, high speed maneuverable kind of ship. So if it wasn't that type of ship, say it was something like, where did I put it? Oh yeah. Say it was something like this older Carapace C3. I wouldn't care, and this ship doesn't really care. It doesn't care about like mega strafing thrust and performance thrusters and things like that, because it's the role in game is it's kind of like just a all around carrier kind of ship. It's got some production, it's got some farms, it's got a hangar, landing pads. It's not intended to go take this against big enemy capital vessels, where the other ship is. And there's a couple different main styles of those kinds of combat vessels too. Obviously, you could have a tank type of ship that's heavily dependent on mega amounts of like armor, a lot of times xenoblocks and decoy parts and other things like that. Um, and then the other school of thought is, you're build a ship that's so fast that the enemies have a hard time hitting you if the pilot's maneuvering constantly while attacking the enemy. So I mean, it depends on the kind of build that you're doing, but lessons learned from past build, and I'll show you a good example here if I can find it. Yeah, here is an older ship. This is the Creel Scepter, detextured, so I could see it. That's a big problem with the lighting now too. Is the Creel stuff is showing up so terribly dark that it's like I don't know. I don't like that. The lighting changed along the way at some point, and now anything that's painted dark is looking excessively dark. So much so that I don't like it anymore. So on this one, this was kind of a combat-oriented ship as well. A little bit of a bird of prey kind of design, but in Reforged Eden. Now this was built for vanilla, but this is running the medium thrusters and even some smaller thrusters in places. Um, I kind of see it's got like a couple of these medium strafing thrusters and 4 forward thrusters, and then some extra booster little thrusters in the mix. And when I fly this around, in this with this spec here, let me get up to the bridge here. I'll turn on the HUD too. You can kind of see how this is maneuvering. It's kind of sluggish. My roll is really not very good. My turning speed, here, I'll just hold down the arrow key, is like this. Um, if I just slam on the strafing, I can only hit 59 ms strafing. Um, and basically, if I try to take on a nasty encounter with this, all those like homing rockets and everything are gonna hit me because I can't move fast enough to get out of its way, or to evade them. So it's self-defeating. Um, it might have guns and stuff on it, but it's not fast enough. So it'd be kind of a sitting duck in those kinds of scenarios, unless you're just going full force on it, like tank style. And that, and like after the fact, it's like, yeah, where are you going to add more thrusters without doing heavy modification to the ship? So lessons learned from ships like this. It's not the only one. That when you're going to do a combat-oriented vessel, let me find the new one again. Yeah. um, that plan on needing a lot more thrust than you think you're going to need. By the time I finish this thing, it's going to be heavier than what it is currently. Now, right now, I got this equipped so it can actually fly with its proposed number of thrusters that I wanted to have in it. And you can see it's like compared to the other ship, it is night and day difference. But also keep in mind this is going to slow down more before it is ready. But yeah, I can easily strafe 100 ms. I can hit 100 in all directions. I can roll a lot faster. Basically, it's a lot more maneuverable. And again, it's going to slow down a little bit. And also keep in mind, this ship is a little bit bigger than Scepter over there too. So if I didn't run the XL thrusters on here, I would be in a world of hurt. Is what I'm getting at. And to take a look at the numbers. If you look at your regular advanced thrusters here or large thrusters in vanilla, each one, well, we're in Reforge Eden, so we'll just do that. Each one is 40,000 CPU at 65 MN force, which is basically your thrust power. When you go to the XL thrusters or the drive thrusters here in Reforge Eden, they're 110,000 CPU a piece and 235 MN in force. So if you start doing the math, let's say we only took three of these. Um, let's add three of these together. So we got 120,000 CPU, and that would be 195 MN thrust, I believe, um, versus one of these, which is 235 MN and 110,000 CPU. So this is a better bang for the buck. You would take about three and a half of these to equal one of these. And this is going to provide like it's going to be a better deal. It's going to be cheaper on CPU, and it produces more thrust. And considering like this ship here is running two of those XL thrusters on the side to match that in the same kind of performance, what I'm really going to need by the time the ship is done, I would have to like run seven of these large thrusters to come pretty close to the same numbers um, per side rather than two of these. And if I ran seven of these, that would be like 2.8 or 280,000 CPU versus 220,000 CPU. So you can kind of see where I'm coming from here. It's a better bang for the buck. I'm going to need that thrust for the type of ship that it is anyway, and it would be a mistake not to go with the best part you could for the circumstance. And that is why I definitely want to just run Excel thrusters on here. The only debatable thing is if it came down to a CPU issue, maybe I could get by with not having Excel thrusters on the going down or your down thrust. That's a possibility, but in the end of the day, I want this to be able to hit max speed in every direction. I want it to be maneuverable and really good strafing, so you can avoid getting hit with a lot of things, um, attacking nasty stuff out there. And yeah, that is why. And it would take up more space, cost more CPU, with probably less performance, unless I was willing to go like seven versus two thruster count to run the large thrusters instead of the XL thrusters. And it just wouldn't make any sense. It would break the whole thing. It would fly. Unless I, went that crazy with the amount of thrusters on it, it would fly a lot more like the Scepter in the end, which isn't isn't cool for the type of ship that I'm trying to build right now. So that's a big thing. Now, one other thing I want to talk a little bit about on this video is some design elements and some of the directions I'm trying to go, and some of the recent learning that I've done with shipbuilding and just block work itself. Let's start out with this Creel Kraken. This is a fairly recent build. Um, and the Creel Kraken, I did something I really never did on any other builds. It's so excessively dark. I apologize for that. I got my light on already. But yeah, these the dark Creel textures are just looking just worse than ever. No, anything dark, even the MCRN. Just when I spawn those in now, and with the at least the default space lighting around, Creative Planet here, it's just so dark that the lighter textures just look so much better. Um, but anyway, this one was trying to do this idea of this continual flowing, modifying like angled wedge block work all along the front and in other places on it. Such as like it's really hard to see, I know, but like down here, like this is just curving, and it's this big piece that's really smooth and curves and angles. And actually, by doing this, kind of experimenting with this type of design, kind of led me to the design of building this, which is following the same principles, is trying to do these big smooth, multiple angle wedge block kind of pieces to make all these general big shapes on it. And at the end of the day, if you can, it's trying to not look voxely, basically. I don't want to see jagged edges. I don't want to see voxel looking blocks. And with my older building style, I was, trying to chop into stuff an awful lot, like this one, and add in all kinds of little tidbits of detail and things like that. But when you look at it as a whole, when it's all done, not that I'm against how it looks really. It was supposed to be alien and stuff too, but it looks like it looks voxely, right? I mean, even though I'm using a lot of wedge blocks and a lot of things, it kind of has that voxel appearance that you would look at this and you say, oh yeah, that's something made with a voxel game. Where if you look at this in first impressions, especially when you get down in certain areas, like you could probably tell it's more voxely up on the top here. Um, but down over here, it's like almost where you can't see any voxels, where you almost think it was made for without, with something else. So that principle of trying to do these big wedge smooth surface areas like that, big parts, I'm trying to carry across to this build some as well. Now I can't do it to the same extent. It's a totally different kind of ship, but I'm trying to be as smooth as I possibly can in certain areas, like down over here, and like big smooth over here, and then same thing, kind of like a big smooth pattern there, big smooth pattern here, big smooth kind of parts. Well, I'm gonna get rid of some of the choppiness, I think, on those areas, but the same principle. I'm trying to incorporate a lot of big smooth rotated stuff to try to make it look less voxely in the end. So that's just kind of a recent lesson learned on my part because of the last couple builds, or especially the Proxima. Um, so yeah, basically, end of the day, I've always kind of wanted to make most things, try to make them look like they weren't made of voxel blocks. If you can make them look like they're not made of voxel blocks, they tend to look more detailed, or more like it was drawn out in a 3D editor as opposed to a voxel game like Imperium. So, yeah, that's kind of some of the principles I'm trying to get into the body as I'm going too. I didn't want to chop into it near as much like the Scepter. Um, trying to keep it smoother, trying to have it depend a lot on its overall shape, um, and not have not near as many of the little doodad block thingies that I would normally do. So yeah, there's a lot of work to be done on this ship yet too. But anyway, I just wanted to cover those couple points there, and then very last part here, I just wanted to ask some questions on this. Um, Questions being, obviously, this is for a combat role in the game. If you take a look at my interior space, and keep in mind, I don't know what the back of the ship is supposed to look like yet, and I need to do some referencing on that. So I'll try to figure that out, and more revisions as work continues. But on this one here, I'm trying to figure out what you think it ought to come stock with. Now, take a look at this area here and assume that maybe this is the floor. It might not be, but might go down a little bit further. But this is kind of my interior area. And I'm kind of planning on, it's going to need some shield parts. And it's possible I will have room to fit big shield parts as well. Um, but my question really is, should I try to equip this with basic, some other basic functions such as production, farm, hangar space. Those three things mainly. Or should I try to keep this more of a dedicated combat ship and not put in a farm, not put in a hangar? It'll probably still have some level of production regardless. It's going to have, obviously ammo storage and probably a couple extra storage bays as well. But or would you rather have it more like you could use this as your main ship in game? It would have a hangar where you could park a couple HVs or SVs in it. Have a small farm. Small farm I consider somewhere between 18 and 36 grow plots. Um, and that kind of thing in it. I'm just kind of curious on what you guys think. Obviously, this is not near as big as the Proxima over there. In fact, here, let me fly this up over there. Um, it's still, but it is also larger than the Scepter. So if we park up over here a minute, probably probably get a good idea on its proportion. Where almost this whole ship almost fits in the space of where the saucer is on this ship. Well, maybe a little bit bigger than that, but eh. Anyway, you get the idea. It is smaller. And I'm just kind of curious on what you guys think generally that it should come outfit with, besides guns and ammo and shields. So that's that's kind of it. I'm not sure if I should basically attempt to like try to slam in a hangar in here or slam in some farms. But if everybody wants that, then I would. I can pull it off either way. It'd probably be a little skinnier, probably a thinner profile back side of it if it did not have a hangar. Um, but that's about it. So I'm just curious on your thoughts on that. So, and that is pretty much all I've got for today's video. I know it doesn't seem like I did a whole heck of a lot since the last one, but it was just messing around with the front of the ship over and over and over again, trying to come up with a design that I could get on board with. But I'm feeling better about this design. However, it needs some more work. And obviously, I wanted to get some turret positions in there as well on the sides. So I'll keep on working on that. Then I got to finish up this whole section of blocks that would kind of come along here and then go down like the lower parts of the wings, and then reference and figure out what the back end of a bird of prey is supposed to look like. Um, and maybe a couple different versions of that, and then kind of try to come up with a plan on that. But as in its thrusters, I think I would have like what I intend it to have for all its thrusters in place right now. Now I don't have a shield, a warp drive, or any of those other fun parts in here, and that puts it already at 2.8 million CPU, a little over that. So yeah, it's kind of the same situation I had with the other ship. It's just like, yeah, you try to even build a basic hull here and give it some guns, and you blow the CPU so quickly, and that is largely due to the thrusters I'm running on here. But the side effect, if I ran smaller and less thrusters, it wouldn't be able to perform the role that it was supposed to be doing. So it's kind of a catch-22. I kind of have to make a ship like this, either really strip it down, maybe make places to put in the XL thrusters, but put in smaller thrusters temporarily, which don't work out very good because purely the difference in their overall size is a big factor in that as well. Um, I could strip it off from a bunch of turrets and launchers, of course, and save some CPU there. But I don't think, regardless of what I do, unless I totally screw up the ship, that it would be able to achieve 2.1 million CPU stock in any nice way. I mean, anything can be done, but can it be done nicely is a big aspect of that. So, oh yes, one last thing. Quick update I did to the Merc TBM. If you happen to be interested in that, I finally got around. And Garriman told me a long time ago too, and I should have been on this. Um, that I did this little console command to clear the pivot position on it, and then I saved it back to the Steam Workshop. So it's supposed to help. There's a weird bug in the game that sometimes if you're underground, like this is kind of intended to be doing, um, and you tilt a certain way or something, the game glitches out, and all of a sudden you're no longer in your mining tunnel, but you're now on the surface. And if you happen to be near like a hostile POI, it's going to start shooting at you, and you lose your place on where your mining stuff was. It's a bug in the game, but there's this weird like workaround fix to correct that by doing this clear pivot command, and I'll try to show that in a future video on what that's about. And then you have to do that command on your creation, and then basically re-upload or update your creation to the Steam Workshop. And so I did those two things, and this has been updated on the workshop now. And I was going to bring this in the game that I'm probably going to be playing a little bit later today. And yeah, I just wanted to make sure it was cool with that before I brought it in the game. So I actually saved up all the resources in game, built all the matrices and bridges and all that fun stuff, and it's all ready to start production. It's just I wanted to fix the make sure that that wasn't going to be a problem before I brought it in. All right. Well, anyway, that's all I've got for today, and you all have yourself a great Monday, and let me know your thoughts on some of the questions, and hopefully I explained the reasons for the big XL thrusters. Um, uh, Decent on to why I wanted to use those thrusters and why I'm not using the large thrusters on a creation like this. All right. Well, anyway, see you later, everybody.